What's up, YouTube? DJ Kryptonite here, the Fight Doctor. Talking combat sports and boxing. I guess most of you guys who keep up with boxing in any kind of way, shape, or form, have found out that they've moved Jaron Boots Ennis up the rankings to, especially in the IBF. I think he's like ranked number 2 or 3. No, he may be ranked. I think he's ranked number 2. Last time I checked, I think I checked it last night. Seems like the 2 spot was vacant. He was ranked 3, and a guy number 1 in the IBF is pretty an obscure guy. I think he's a European fighter, Eastern European maybe, but he's ranked number 1, I think, in the IBF. But they said it's going to be Ennis who's going to overtake that spot, at least in the IBF. And in the WBA, WBC, Ennis is steadily moved up. I think he's in the top 3 in most of the sanctioning bodies at this point. And I think in my previous video, or one of my previous videos, I was saying that they're looking to replace Errol Spence as the face of the welterweight division because of his recent issues, be it the detached retina, the car accident, that sort of thing. I think he's getting less and less marketable as a boxer. Because of the situations he's put himself in. So I think they're trying to make moves to make Ennis the face of the welterweight division, probably after Errol Spence and Crawford age out or grow out or age out of the division. But ultimately, Ennis is a big welterweight, so he could probably opt to move out and move to 154. But we'll see. He probably won't campaign at 147 very long. He'll probably move up to 154. He's a big welterweight. But I just want to get to the gist of the video is that Ennis, in an interview yesterday, where he said Errol Spence needs to either fight him or vacate. Now, most of the time, when there's a transition period or there's hungry boxers or up-and-coming boxers who are talented, gifted, they want that shot. And Ennis is at that point where he wants the shot. And he wants to take that shot. I remember a few years ago, Errol Spence was in that position, challenging everybody from Floyd to Pacquiao to Keith Thurman. Whoever he had to call out, he was calling them out. And finally he got his shot with Kell Brook, and the rest is history. And this is where we are now with Errol Spence pretty much being the face of the welterweight division. But that's soon to change, I believe, because again, you can't keep getting into situations where we'll just say you're tarnishing your brand. And I think that's where Errol Spence is right now. He's tarnishing his brand. And right now, I think Al Heyman and the sanctioning bodies, a lot of times these promoters have a lot of influence on these sanctioning bodies to put people in place to fight who they like pretty much Bob Arum kind of runs the WBO sanctioning body. So a lot of times he'll put people in place to move up the rankings, to make fights for his elite fighters, or to move people down to avoid fighting his elite fighters. He's put it off for a while. So I know Arum runs the WBO pretty much. Heyman, not so much. I don't think he has a sanctioning body that he has a direct influence over. But I can see him having some influence, especially over the WBA, WBC, and IBF, especially in the welterweight division, because he actually manages a lot of the elite welterweight. So I can see him having some sort of influence of getting Ennis up there. So don't think this is by happenstance that Boots Ennis is actually moving up the ranks so quickly. And now Errol Spence is mandatory. You notice, I don't know if he was the mandatory in the WBO. I have no idea. I hadn't heard anything about the WBO because that title is held by Terrence Crawford. But I hadn't heard anything mention that Boots Ennis is actually Terrence Crawford's mandatory. Hadn't heard that yet, which is interesting. So like I said, it's a lot of politics in boxing. It's a lot of moves behind the scenes that we just don't understand. But again, I see why they're putting pressure on Errol Spence. Boots is the natural. It's the natural progression for Boots to inherit that crown. If Terrence Crawford doesn't inherit that, I believe Terrence Crawford eventually will. But it's funny that Boots is actually calling out Errol Spence, because I really do believe people think Errol Spence is a shell of himself because of the recent mishaps that he's the car accident, now the detached retina. I think he's damaged goods. I guess we can call it that. He's damaged goods. He's a little slower than what he was, meaning cognitively, he's a little slower. So I can see why people are calling out Errol Spence now. Because, at one point they weren't calling out Spence as much as they're doing now. So people are really trying to take a shot at Errol Spence. And given the nature of competition, if he's a wounded dog, you got to go. You got to put that wounded dog down. And I think that's what Errol Spence is now. He's a wounded dog. He's damaged goods. Unfortunately, people are calling him out because they want to take him down because he's the king of the hill in the welterweight class. And it's just unfortunate that he put himself in a situation where he's susceptible. He's vulnerable. And that's where we are now. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, DJ Kryptonite, Fight Doctor, like, subscribe, comment, any of those things. And I'll try to keep you posted. As I know, I'll keep you guys posted on what you should know about certain things or comings or and that nature coming up in the boxing world. But anyway, have a great day. Deuces.